I was sprawled on the living room couch, the late afternoon sun spilling through the lace curtains of our suburban home, casting soft shadows across the worn carpet. At 48, I'd grown used to the quiet rhythm of life as a librarian, but lately, the weight of unpaid bills and a dripping kitchen faucet gnawed at me. My novel, a half-hearted escape, lay open on my lap, its pages blurring as I thought about Greg's long hours at the factory and Sophie's recent sullenness. Our daughter, 17 and fiercely creative, had been distant, locking herself in her room with her paints. The doorbell's sharp chime jolted me upright. "Who's that?" I muttered, expecting a neighbor or maybe the gardening tools I'd ordered online. Sophie's been into art supplies lately, so a package wouldn't surprise me. Without glancing at the peephole, I swung the door open, a polite smile ready. 3 men in police uniforms stood on the porch, their faces hard. "Is this the Thompson residence?" the tallest one asked, his voice like gravel. My stomach twisted, but I nodded. "Yes, I'm Ellen Thompson. What's going on?" The officer in the middle clutched a folded paper, stepping closer. "There's a warrant for your daughter Sophie's arrest." The words slammed into me, emptying my lungs. "Arrest? My Sophie, who painted murals for her school. What? What?" I choked out, my mind a whirlwind. The officer's gaze sharpened. "She's suspected of vandalism, defacing public property. Witnesses saw her at the town hall last night with spray cans." My knees buckled, and I clung to the doorframe. "No, that's impossible," I whispered, but the officers loomed closer, their boots thudding. My heart pounded as I stood frozen in the doorway, the officer's words echoing in my skull. "Sophie, my Sophie, accused of vandalism?" It couldn't be true. She was probably upstairs right now, lost in her sketchbook, not out spray painting town hall. I opened my mouth to protest, but only a weak "why" escaped. The officer with the warrant, his badge glinting under the porch light, unfolded the paper with a snap. Witnesses identified a girl matching her description: red hoodie, black backpack, defacing public property. She was seen fleeing toward this neighborhood. His tone was cold, certain, and it sent a shiver down my spine. I shook my head, my voice trembling. "Sophie would never do that. She's an artist, not a delinquent." The third officer, younger and quieter, shifted uncomfortably, but the leader pressed forward, his bulk blocking the fading sunlight. "Is she here? We need to speak with her." Panic surged, and I instinctively pushed the door to shut it, my hands shaking. The lead officer's boot wedged against the frame, stopping it cold. "Ma'am, don't make this difficult." My chest tightened, and I leaned my weight against the door, desperate to keep them out. "Please, just explain. What proof do you have?" I pleaded, my voice cracking. The officer sighed, his patience thinning. "We have security footage and multiple witnesses. Denying it won't help." "Footage?" My mind reeled, picturing Sophie's red hoodie, the one she wore constantly. "I need a moment." I clung to the door, my knuckles white, as the officer's impatient stares bore into me. My mind was a storm of questions. Sophie, vandalism, security footage? It didn't add up, but their boots against my door felt all too real. "Please, I need to use the bathroom," I blurted, grasping for any excuse to buy time. The lead officer's brow furrowed, but I pressed on, my voice desperate. "Just 5 minutes. You can't barge in while I'm. I'll talk after, I promise." He hesitated, just long enough for me to slam the door shut. The lock clicked, and I leaned against it, my breath ragged. Outside, a fist pounded the wood. "Ma'am, open the door," the leader barked, but I was already stumbling toward the bathroom, my legs unsteady. Inside, I locked that door too and sank onto the cold tile floor, clutching my phone. "Calm down, Ellen," I whispered, trying to steady my trembling hands. Sophie wasn't a vandal. She was my pride, her artwork framed on our walls, her school awards gleaming on the mantel. I pictured her at 10, painting flowers on our garage door, Greg laughing as she smeared paint on her cheeks. She couldn't have done this. My gut screamed something was off. The officer's pushiness, their vague evidence. I opened my phone, fingers fumbling, and dialed 911, whispering about 3 men claiming to be police at my door. "Stay safe. Help's coming," the dispatcher said. I exhaled, resolve hardening. I'd face them, protect Sophie, no matter what. I stepped out of the bathroom, my heart still racing, but my resolve steeled. The officers pounding on the front door had stopped, replaced by low, muffled voices outside. I crept to the living room, peering through the curtains. The 3 men stood on the porch, the leader gesturing sharply while the younger one hung back, his eyes darting nervously. Something about their uniforms caught my eye. The badges looked cheap, like props from a costume shop, and the youngest officer's jacket was slightly too big, sagging at the shoulders. My stomach churned. Were they even real cops? "Ma'am, we need to come in now," the lead officer called as I cracked the door open, my voice steadier than I felt. "You said there's footage of Sophie, but you haven't shown me anything. Where's this warrant?" The officer's jaw tightened, and he waved the paper again, but I noticed it was just a folded sheet, no official seal visible. "We'll show you inside," he snapped, but I held my ground. "First you said she was seen, now there's footage? Your story's changing." The younger officer glanced away, his face pale, and I caught a flicker of guilt in his eyes. "Look, I just want to talk to Sophie," I said, stalling. "She's asleep, and I'm not letting you in without proof." The leader's patience snapped, and he pushed the door wider. "Enough games," he growled, his hand on my shoulder. I stumbled back as the lead officer shoved past me, his shoulder brushing mine with a force that sent me reeling. My heart hammered as the 3 men stormed into my living room, their boots scuffing the hardwood Greg, and I had saved years to install. "You can't just barge in," I shouted, my voice shrill with panic, but they ignored me. The leader yanked open a drawer in the entryway table, tossing aside old mail and a photo of Sophie at her first art show. The younger officer, still avoiding my eyes, moved toward the kitchen, while the third rifled through the bookshelf, knocking Sophie's sketchbooks to the floor. My stomach twisted. This was my home, our sanctuary, and they were tearing it apart. "Stop it!" I lunged forward, slamming the kitchen drawer shut just as the younger officer reached for my recipe box, a gift from my mother. "There's nothing here. You have no right." My hands trembled, but anger surged past my fear. The leader turned, his face a mask of irritation. "We're searching for evidence, spray paint, clothes, anything tying her to the vandalism." I blocked the hallway to the stairs, arms outstretched. "Sophie's asleep, and you're not going near her without a real warrant." The younger officer hesitated, his fingers twitching, but the leader pointed at the staircase. "Her room's up there, isn't it?" My breath caught as they pushed past, their heavy steps creaking on the stairs. I tore up the stairs after the officers, my chest burning with every step. "Don't you dare go in there," I screamed, my voice cracking, but the lead officer threw open Sophie's door, her hand-painted nameplate clattering against the wood. The 3 men stopped dead in the doorway, and I shoved past, my breath hitching at the sight before me. Sophie lay in a hospital bed, her frail body propped up by pillows, a pressure-sore mattress humming softly beneath her. Wires trailed from a monitor by her side, and her wheelchair sat in the corner, next to a stack of towels and a call button. Her red hoodie, the one they'd mentioned, hung untouched on the chair's back. She looked up, her face pale but composed, and gave a faint smile. "Mom, what's all this noise?" I rushed to her, grabbing her hand, my eyes stinging. "Sophie's been hurt," I said, my voice trembling with fury and relief. "She had a spinal injury 3 months ago, a car accident. She can't walk, hasn't left this bed without help. There's no way she could have vandalized anything." Sophie nodded, pointing to the wheelchair. "I can't even get into that alone. Check my doctor's notes if you want." The younger officer's face reddened, and he stepped back, while the leader's smugness crumbled. "This complicates things," he mumbled, folding his so-called warrant with shaky hands. "We'll need to confirm this." "Confirm it," I snapped, my anger flaring. "You've trashed my home, accused my daughter, and didn't bother checking her condition?" The younger officer muttered an apology, but the leader was already edging toward the door. Sophie's grip tightened on my hand, her voice low. "Mom, those guys aren't right. I know one of them." I stood by Sophie's bed, her whispered words, "I know one of them," ringing in my ears. My anger at the officer's invasion battled with a new unease. Who could she recognize? The men were retreating toward the door, their apologies hollow, but I wasn't letting them slip away so easily. "Wait," I snapped, planting myself in the hallway. "You owe us an explanation." The leader muttered something about mistaken identity, but my eyes locked on the younger officer. His face, half hidden by his cap, seemed oddly familiar now, stirring a memory I couldn't place. Sophie's voice, weak but steady, cut through the tension. "Jake? Is that you?" The younger officer froze, his shoulders stiffening. "Jake?" My mind raced back to Sophie's middle school days. Jake Harper, her best friend, always at our house with his sketchpad, dreaming of art school with her. They drifted apart after his family moved away. I stared at him, my jaw dropping. "Jake Harper," I said, my voice sharp with disbelief. He pulled off his cap, revealing guilty eyes. "Mrs. Thompson." "Sophie, I'm sorry." The other officers exchanged nervous glances, but Jake stepped forward, his voice low. "I didn't want this. They made me." Sophie's face softened, despite her pain. "What happened to you, Jake? You were going to be an artist." He looked down, shame etched in his features. "Life got hard. I messed up." The leader grabbed his arm, hissing, "Shut up, kid." My pulse quickened. Something was unraveling. "What's going on here?" I demanded, but a loud bang from downstairs made us all jump. My heart lurched at the bang from downstairs, my eyes darting between Jake's guilty face and the officer's tense postures. "What was that?" I demanded, but the leader's hand shot up, silencing me. "Stay here," he growled, nodding to the other officer to check the noise. Jake's gaze flickered to Sophie, who watched him with a mix of pity and resolve from her hospital bed. "Jake, tell me the truth," I said, my voice low but firm. His shoulders slumped, and he whispered, "They're not cops, Mrs. Thompson. It's a scam. We've been targeting families like yours, saying their kids did crimes to scare them into paying." My blood ran cold. A scam? The warrant? The uniforms? All fake? Before I could process it, the second officer burst back upstairs, his face pale. "We've got company. Real cops. My 911 call, it worked." The leader cursed, grabbing Jake's arm. "You idiot. You led us into a trap." Jake yanked free, his voice shaking but defiant. "I'm done. This is wrong, and you know it." The leader lunged, his fist slamming into Jake's jaw with a sickening crack. I screamed, rushing forward, but the second officer shoved me back, snarling, "Pay up, or your kid's name stays on the list." Sophie's monitor beeped wildly, her breathing shallow. I was frozen, helpless, until a sharp voice cut through. "Hands up now." Real police officers, badges gleaming, stormed the room, tackling the fake cops. Jake didn't resist, his eyes locked on Sophie as he was cuffed. "I'm sorry," he mouthed. The house felt hollow as I swept up the scattered papers and righted Sophie's sketchbooks, the chaos left by the fake officers a painful reminder of the day's ordeal. Greg came home late, his face etched with worry after I'd called him from the police station. He hugged me tightly, apologizing for his dead phone and the long shift that kept him away. "You and Sophie are safe. That's what matters," he said, but his voice shook. We sat in the living room, the silence heavy, as Sophie slept upstairs, her monitors humming softly. The police had filled us in. Jake and his accomplices were part of a ring targeting wealthy neighborhoods, faking warrants to extort money from panicked parents. Their uniforms were costumes, the warrant a forgery, and Jake's knowledge of our town, our lives, had made us a target. I couldn't shake the image of Jake's guilty eyes, the boy who'd once drawn with Sophie in our backyard. Sophie, though, wasn't shaken. "Jake turned himself in, Mom," she said when I checked on her earlier, her voice steady despite her frailty. "He's still the kid who helped me paint that mural." Her faith in him stirred something in me. Pride, but also a nagging question. Why had Jake fallen so far? The police said he'd confessed everything, detailing how his family's debts had driven him to the scam. I looked at Greg, his hands clasped tightly, and felt our own struggles. Bills, Sophie's medical costs, pale in comparison. Morning light streamed into Sophie's room, where I set a tray of toast and juice on her bedside table. The hum of her medical monitor was a familiar comfort now, a reminder of her strength despite the spinal injury that kept her bedridden. "Good morning, sweetheart," I said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Morning, Mom," Sophie replied, her eyes bright with something other than breakfast. "Did it come?" I smiled, handing her a plain envelope from the mail. "More excited about Jake than food, huh?" I teased. Sophie grinned, carefully opening the letter, her fingers steady despite her weakness. "It's from Jake," she said, her voice warm. "He's been painting in prison, says he's joined an art program. He wants to create a mural with me when he's out." Her smile widened, and I felt a lump in my throat. After everything, the fake warrant, the invasion, Jake's betrayal, Sophie's faith in her old friend hadn't wavered. The police had confirmed Jake's full confession. He'd joined the scam to escape his family's crushing debts, but his remorse led to the ring's collapse. Sophie's optimism had shifted something in me, too. Inspired by her, I'd started a fundraiser for her medical bills, and Greg and I were tackling our debts together, stronger as a family. Beside Sophie's bed sat a new wheelchair, sleek and designed for adaptive sports. She'd set her sights on wheelchair basketball, determined to play with Jake someday. Watching her, I vowed to face our challenges head-on, buoyed by her unyielding spirit.